Welcome to my first Football Manager 2018 experiment, and it's the return of an old favourite. Yes, that's right, it's my English League's flipped database experiment. Now, I've done this experiment on every single Football Manager since FM13, except last year on FM17. I took a break from experiments, but I'm feeling hungry again to make these. I know a lot of you guys find these very interesting, as do I. So, let's get started. For those of you that are new to Football Manager experiments, basically what I do is I mess around with the editor and holiday into the future. If you're pleased that I'm back with FM experiments, please hit that like button, it'd be very much appreciated. So in this experiment, what I have done is I've swapped all the English divisions around. I've flipped them on their head. So we've got the National League South and North in the top divisions, and the Premier League in the bottom divisions. The Championship are in the bottom divisions as well. I've swapped them all around. The only division that stays the same is League 2 because that's bang in the middle. So, in the Premier League now, we now have the 20 lowest reputation teams from the National League South and North combined. So there's actually a few more southern teams in there because there's a few more southern teams with lower reputation than the Northern Division. And then in the Championship, we've got the rest of those basically. So it's the 24 highest reputation teams from the National League South and North. League 1 consists of the current National League teams. So all the teams that are currently in the conference are in League 1. League 2 stays the same, so those are all the current day League 2 teams. National League consists of League 1 teams, and then this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I've had to use some geographical skills for this one. National League North consists of the 10 most northern Premier League teams and the 12 most northern Championship teams. And then in the South, we've got the 10 most southern Premier League teams and the 12 most southern Championship teams. The only anomaly really is West Brom are in the Northern Division, despite being a bit further south than a couple of teams in the National League South, but that's because I wanted to split the 10 Premier League teams between the two divisions. In the description below you will find a link to this database. I know some of you guys like to actually play on this database and perhaps manage a Premier League team in the bottom division, try and get them promoted to the top, or possibly manage someone like Gainsborough and try and create a dynasty, try and turn them into like a Champions League winning team. It's tough because I've left all the finances the same. So it's the first few years, these teams have to try and stay in the Premier League to try and get all that TV money and develop the team, develop the youth system, turn themselves into a brilliant team before the Premier League teams get back to the top, because they've still got their world-class players, they've still got their money, they will get back to the top division. There will be the odd team that gets stuck. We've seen that in previous experiments. There has been teams that have got stuck in the lower leagues, but those 20 current Premier League teams probably will start to creep up, especially the big boys, the top 6. They will probably race to the top in very, very few seasons. So in today's video, I'm going to holiday 1 year to see what happens in the first season, and then there's going to be a few more parts to this experiment series where we holiday quite far into the future to see what happens. So I've holidayed to June 2018, and the champions of the 2017-18 Premier League season is Spennymoor. Well done to them. 73 points, 1.5 star reputation, winning the Premier League. That is just fantastic, isn't it? They were actually only just promoted from the 7th tier last year in real life, according to this, and they've gone and won the English Premier League. Rich finances. I think most of the teams should be rich because of the TV money. Let's have a look to see if they made any transfers. Now, I want to look at things in quite a bit of detail in this series. Sometimes I do whiz through the seasons, but I want to just focus on a few things in a little bit more detail. So looking at transfers and that sort of thing. So in the first season, they couldn't spend much money because at the start of the game, all they've got is the money they have. So they spent 51k on Joe Bateman from Derby County, a 19-year-old. Bit of a random signing, but perhaps he helped lead them to glory. We'll have a look in a second at the team front. But look now, let's see who was their key players this season. Goals-wise, top goal scorer was Bradley Fuster with 12 goals, and he only got a 6.75 average rating, and they won that. This is interesting. Look, average rating-wise, they're not particularly strong, are they? But they've managed to win the league. Let's have a look at this again. They only scored 45 goals in 38 games, and somehow they won. They must have won all their games 1-0. Look, I mean, it's not a massive difference, I suppose, between a lot of these teams. The teams relegated: Hungerford, Bradford, PA and Curzon Ashton. It was pretty tight at the bottom. Hampton and Richmond were close to the bottom. Hemel Hempstead, Weston-super-Mare, lots of teams got under 50 points here. But the other teams that make up the Champions League places: Gloucester, Gainsborough and Concord Rangers from Canvey Island. Now then, what we will see over time, I'm sure, is a reduction in the Champions League places given to English football teams, because the reputation of the league will decline over time. If we just see here, it's got the third in the competition reputation in Europe. We will probably see that go down a bit. Serie A will overtake Ligue 1, and then there will be less Champions League places. It's just funny to see Chelsea won the league last year and then Spennymoor this. I don't even know where Spennymoor is. Let me know if you're from Spennymoor or from the area. Is Spennymoor a place? I assume so. Bognor Regis was the team that finished 5th and managed to win a place in the Euro Cup next year. It's going to be really interesting to see in part 2 how these teams get on in European competitions. Wealdstone miss out, presumably because the real Premier League teams have managed to win the FA Cup and League Cup. I mean, transfer-wise, looking at all transfers for the season, that signing of Joe Bateman was the only signing that actually involved any money. Everything else was free transfers or loans, which is just hilarious, really. Amazing stuff. Top goal scorer was this guy, Warren Bentley for Poole Town. 27-year-old striker, top goal scorer in the Premier League. Only 15 goals there. There really wasn't many goals involved. I've seen this before, actually. It's been a very sort of defensive league when we've done it like this. Top average rating was actually Wealdstone player Charlie Rowan, centre-back. That says it all, really. A centre-back getting the top average rating. I mean, who won player of the season? It's Josh Casey. No, it's player of the month, sorry. Have we got footballer of the year yet? Charlie Rowan. It was the centre-back that managed to get footballer of the year. Golden Glove, Dan Lincoln for Bognor Regis. Manager of the year was the Spennymoor manager, as you would expect. Players player of the year, Charlie Rowan. Players team of the year, these players. Let me know in the comment section below, which team are you supporting? Who do you think will go on to be the best team on the save out of the teams that are sort of in the top 2 divisions? Ignore the real life Premier League teams, they will eventually get to the top. But which team will you be sort of following and cheering on in this? And perhaps which team do you think will go on to be the most glorious? In fact, what's happened to... Oh, wow, this is amazing. From my Regen Rovers save. Those of you that watched my Regen Rovers save on FM18, I replaced Poole Town with Regen Rovers, and it's put in an old Regen Rovers shirt, as that's weird. I'm not sure how that's happened. It might be because I transferred my logo pack across, but that's a blast from the past from last year. Anyway, let's go down to the Championship then. Have a look to see who was promoted. We can see Alfreton were promoted. The other 2 teams, St Albans won the league, 95 points. That's more like it, 73 goals as well. Salford also promoted in 2nd place with 85 points. And then Alfreton in 6th place managed to win the playoffs. It was very tight though, as you can see there, for the playoff places. At the bottom, Nuneaton, Tamworth and Braintree Town relegated. My boys Chelmsford City just about escaped relegation, as did FC United. Top goal scorer, this is much more like it. 28 goals for Michael Folivy, 20-year-old. Well done to him. He also got the highest average rating. Player of the match awards was for this guy, Bradley Wood for Alfreton. Clean sheets was Gojic, an American for Kidderminster. Let's just have a look at the award winners again. Manager of the year was the St Albans manager. Player of the year was Michael Folivy. That's kind of what you'd expect. This is the team of the year. A few Salford players in there, a few St Albans players in there. And transfer-wise, once again, no money really spent, apart from one player, Alex Goodger, going from Brackley to Maidstone. But in part 2, I'm sure we're going to see some money flying around, because there's going to be lots of teams with Premier League money now, TV money, which is amazing. And some teams have qualified for the Champions League, of course. Going down to League 1 then, Hartlepool managed to get promoted as champions, with Dagenham and Redbridge 3rd and Ebbsfleet going up via the playoffs. Maidenhead, Borehamwood, Chester and Bromley were relegated. Now, we've often seen on these experiments before, the League 1 teams, these sort of teams, like maybe Dagenham and Redbridge, will get promoted to the Premier League and then they will start to dominate in a few years' time. It's not necessarily those top 2 divisions that have the most successful teams after a few years. It's often these real-life National League teams that can get promoted and then tend to do quite well. Top goal scorer, Kobe Arthur for Macclesfield. Top average rating was Jamie Sterry, on loan from Newcastle to Gateshead, getting a really good average rating. Top assists was Mully for Maidenhead. Let's just have a look to see if they're... money was spent in this division, but once again, not a huge amount. But National League teams, some National League teams do have a bit of money, I suppose. So we saw a little bit flying around. Player of the year was Jamie Sterry for Gateshead, the guy on loan from Newcastle. And that's the team of the year. Lots of Hartlepool players in there. Down to League 2 then, probably the least interesting division at this point because it's all real-life League 2 teams, so it's kind of played out as you would expect. Luton Town promoted as champions, Chesterfield and Mansfield also automatically going up. And then Carlisle United in 7th place managed to get promoted via the playoffs. Port Vale and Newport County are going to have problems, I think, because they've been relegated out of the Football League. They're going to be facing some Premier League opposition very soon. There will be teams that completely drop out of it because the teams that get relegated early on will then have to face a few Premier League and Championship teams for a few years, and they're going to struggle, I'm sure. Although we might see some Championship and Premier League teams struggle financially at some point. We'll have to see how many players move abroad to the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona. We might have already seen some, in fact, but it's more likely to be this summer, I think. So, National League-wise then, Blackburn Rovers and Fleetwood Town are the two teams to manage to get promoted to the Football League. Rochdale, Doncaster, Scunthorpe and Plymouth are going to struggle next year. They've been relegated into the Championship and Premier League teams. I feel sorry for them. David Ball was top goal scorer for Rotherham with 19 goals. Lewis Coyle, 7.56 average rating, really good from him. So, this is where it gets really interesting. Manchester United promoted as champions. Liverpool miss out because Man City won the playoffs. The other two teams to get into the playoffs, West Brom and Newcastle. The lowest rated Premier League team was Burnley, down in 10th place. So the top 10 teams were Premier League teams. But they only finished 2 points above Sunderland, the highest rated Championship team. The three teams to be relegated, Barnsley, Bolton and Burton. I think we saw this before. All the Bs seem to do really badly and get relegated. So they are out of this altogether. They might come back at some point. We'll have to see if they pop up out of the regional leagues. But I think they're going to suffer. Look at the insecure finances of Burton Albion. 1-star local reputation. Bolton, the same. 1 star. They've gone down. Like, they've already lost their reputation because they've been relegated out of this division. Whereas Sheffield United, who survived, they keep their national 3-star reputation. But once you're relegated, you're in real trouble, and it really is a lottery as to whether you get promoted again or not. So problems for them. If we just look at the top goal scorer, it was Berahino. 18 goals. He hasn't scored for ages, has he, in real life? And he's managed to get 18 goals for Stoke. Aguero, so strange to see Aguero and Lukaku in the National League North. They didn't get a huge number of goals, to be honest. Aguero was highest average rating, though. But Dawson for Burnley, Michael Dawson, got the most man of the match awards this year. What was the goals like? Liverpool scored 103 goals this season, and they still didn't get promoted. That's a bit unlucky, really, isn't it? Let's just have a look. 103 goals, but there's not many there. I suppose it's because they've taken part in European competitions as well. Let's just have a look to see how they got on in the Champions League. So they were actually knocked out in the best place playoff, and then in the Euro Cup. How did they get on? They actually got to the quarter-final before losing to Arsenal, so they managed to do quite well in the Euro Cup. Let's just have a look to see. They lost in the semi-finals against Napoli. National League South then was won by Tottenham Hotspur. 3 points ahead of Arsenal, but Arsenal managed to get promoted via the playoffs. Chelsea miss out. They're a long way behind. In fact, Bournemouth and Southampton, the other two teams to get into the playoffs. Lowest rated Premier League team was Brighton. Top 10 were Premier League teams. We might see this changing up a bit over time. Wolves was the highest rated Championship team, with Birmingham, Aston Villa and Millwall going down. 2 Birmingham-based teams there being relegated. Millwall, the worst of the worst. So these teams will now be 1-star reputation as well. Whereas Fulham, who just about survived, keep their reputation for the time being. But that will start to decline the more seasons they stay in this division. Top goal scorer was Eden Hazard. 19 goals, along with Sanchez and Harry Kane. They all got 19 goals each. Mesut Ozil, top assists. Top average rating. Eriksen was top assists for Spurs, the champions. In fact, I didn't look at transfers in the division before, so we have seen some players move, but interestingly, Cresswell and Trippier have gone to Man United, but they stayed in the National League South, whereas Koscielny has got out. He's managed to go to France and go to Ligue 1. Fabianski's managed to get out. So there are a few players are getting out, but there are some that are just transferring between these teams, which is really interesting. Batshuayi going to Krasnodar for £6.75 million. Like nothing really, is it? If we just go up, I think the National League North will be similar. Like, Moreno's gone to Hertha Berlin. Ajoa's gone to Brazil. Intriguing transfers, but I think it's going to be even more interesting in the next transfer window. So make sure you check out part 2 when that's ready. It will be uploaded in a couple of days. Player of the season was Eden Hazard in the National League South, and in the National League North, Paul Pogba. But I do want to look at manager movement. So the Millwall and Aston Villa managers relegated most recently because of being, relegated. But there are a few other teams that got their managers sacked. National League North, Man City sacked Pep Guardiola. Who's in charge now then? It's Paulo Sousa. Wow. Where's Guardiola's jobless? Because he was sacked in March 2018 because of poor results. That is really interesting. Stoke got rid of Mark Hughes. Preston got rid of Alex Neil. Moving on to the FA Cup then. So Bournemouth beat Ipswich Town in the FA Cup final 2-1. So Bournemouth qualified for the Euro Cup. Well done to Ipswich for getting to the final though. It's great to see two sort of different teams in that final as opposed to really big teams. You can see here, player stats wise, Javier Hernandez, top goal scorer alongside with Rondon. Creswell, I thought he moved. He did move to Man United in January. In fact, not that long ago. Yeah, it must have been January. That's really weird. How did he play? Oh, because is the transfer window is different in these divisions, isn't it? Is there no transfer window, or is it longer or something? Because for him to have played 35 league games and then moved to Man United in the same season, it must have been after the January transfer window. So I think the window is slightly different. Carabao Cup then. Oh. Have we broken the Carabao Cup with the way we've done this? I think we might have broken the Carabao Cup. I don't remember breaking this before. That's really weird. So, it's a pointless competition anyway, most people think. So we've got rid of the Carabao Cup by messing with these divisions. Community Shield is still working. Arsenal beat Chelsea in that one. But next year, of course, we're going to see Bournemouth in it and also Spennymoor, of course. Checker Trade Trophy still exists, so that's good. The Southampton under-23s beat Oldham. So, of course, we've still got the under-23 teams in this competition because of the new rules, of course. And then the English FA Trophy, of course, consists of Premier League and Championship teams. So Everton beat Newcastle on penalties. We've got rid of what most people think is a pointless competition, so that might be a blessing in disguise. Champions League then. Barcelona won it by the looks of it. Let's just go through to the final. Barcelona beat Bayern Munich in the final. If we just go back in time, Chelsea managed to get to the semi-final despite being a National League team, a National League South team. But, of course, they've got all their quality players. Chelsea actually beat Man United in the quarterfinals there. And if we go to the first knockout round, Spurs managed to get through to that as well, and so did Man United. When did Man United get knocked out? Quarter-final. And Man City got knocked out in the first round. Euro Cup-wise, Napoli managed to beat AC Milan in the final, but we did see Arsenal get to the semi-final and Liverpool get to the quarter-finals. The English team, I think we'll start to see it become a little bit different soon with when these players start to move to the Premier League. Teams like Spennymoor might sign one of these players. It'd be great to see like a Spennymoor player in the English team. That's going to be fantastic to see. So that's it for part 1 of this experiment. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like button if you did. If you want to see a part 2, that will be out in a couple of days' time. Like I said, the database is in the description below if you want to have a bit of fun with that. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe as well so you can see when my videos go live. Until next time, enjoy FM18 and I'll see you very soon.